One of the things that we're going to have to do as we move forward throughout the content is we're going to have to continue to try to make connections between the varying ideas that we've already discussed. As you read chapter 6 within your summer reading books and chapter 9 within your textbooks, you will notice that much of the information we have already discussed and answered questions on, but that does not mean that we don't need to continue working hard on this material. We need to make sure that we have a solid understanding of the material so we can then be better equipped in order to make connections covering the material. I realize that I've already discussed the nomination and primary process before, but I want to make sure we're completely clear on what it is. The nomination process, the primary process, is the party's systematic approach to gaining a single candidate to represent their party for the upcoming general election. You get it referred to as the earning the party's nomination or earning the party's nod, earning the party's signature. Any number of those things mean the same thing, where an individual is attempting to earn the right to earn the votes to be able to run for their given party's typically presidential or congressional level. Again, primaries can both happen at the congressional level and at the presidential level, wherever there is a conflict of what candidate or what individual will run for that party. Now, originally throughout history, and we've already talked about this, there was a national party convention. And at this national party convention, delegates would then get together and they would discuss what candidates would then be most appealing and most likely to win the upcoming general election. Now, this met with some controversy. This met with some difficulties because, again, it was up to the candidates or the delegates to choose their representative, and it really did not allow for the democratic process. Through the adoption of the primary process system, that has allowed for more democratic control for people to have over their given candidate. Like I've told you in class before, whenever someone is given a choice, they are given more democratic power. If I give you the choice on what assignments you have or what donuts you have during donut review, then you are being given more democratic power. Now, again, this is a very, controversial topic when it comes to primaries. Well, not really controversial, but very dynamic at times. This changed a little bit in the Democratic Party if you looked in your book regarding the 1968 convention, where people were getting frustrated with the elites, these delegates only making the decision, and a lot of people demanded that people have the power in order to make their own choices. And you will see there in your textbook about the McGovern-Fraser Commission, where they made the final decision that the Democratic voters, not just the Democratic elites, would make their decision on who would represent their party for the presidential election. Again, that's where we're starting to see the shift. During that time period, and this is a topic that I definitely want you to understand, prior to the 1968 primary season, you will notice that was very much a party-driven politics within the campaign itself. And I've already brought this up before, but it is imperative that you understand this, because you never know, you might have an FRQ, where the party is the chief focal point for elections and for support. When you claim to support an ideology, you would then support a party that shared that ideology, either Democrat or Republican in recent years. But there has been a shift in those ideas, a shift towards a candidate-driven idea of politics, or candidate-driven politics, where the person becomes the focal point of elections, where the person is being focused on instead of the party itself. Now, again, there is still a great deal of people that identify themselves as Democrats and identify themselves as Republicans, but it is crucial that we understand in the very public, the very fast-paced, the very internet-driven, high-speed information world we live in, it has allowed for a much more focused point on the candidates. That is why candidates need to be seen as appealing. That's why candidates need to be seen as, intelligent, well-rounded, suitable for the position. So that is really, we see the shift during this time period from that party-driven to that candidate-driven politics. And it really started within the primary process, allowing individuals to select their own candidate for their given parties. Again, we are giving them more power, more democratic power. Moving on, kind of go along my book here. Your homework does deal with superdelegates, so make sure you look that up. We'll talk about that after you complete it. But there's something else that we really need to also talk about here, and that is the idea of the invisible primary. Now, you will see in your textbook, as it says there, it says the major component of an invisible primary is the wooing of support. That means the gaining of support for elected officials, more importantly, the governors and Congress, top fundraisers, and skilled political aides. The invisible primary is generating the support of the elite within the political arena. That's the invisible primary, where you're trying to generate support through political elite. You're also trying to generate support from the people that will vote for you en masse, but not necessarily in that type of numbers. You need invisible primary, you could say, is what comes before the main primary season, where you're trying to generate support from individuals could then generate support for you, for your aides, for your fundraisers, along those types of things. Just trying to look through things. I don't want to, again, we're going to talk about caucuses, and we've been talking about primaries. Something that I really want to look at here is some qualities that we will see within a good candidate. And some of these qualities make a lot of sense. Some of these qualities may be infuriating, but some of these qualities are completely true. Obviously, intelligence is an important one. Being well-rounded, being well-rounded in ideas and understandings, well-spoken, good political speaking, good presence within the room. Do they own the room? Attractive. Now, this one might not be the most popular thing, but you do need to be attractive. You do need to be pleasing to the eye. But with that said, not overly pleasing, not overly attractive, because then as women find out, and again, this is not a popular idea, but it's a true one, folks, you don't want to be overly attractive, because then as some individuals find out, you can't be taken seriously. And it's not popular, but it's the truth, folks. Pleasingly attractive is the best way I can think of describing those types of things. Also, religious helps, being a religious person. I don't believe an atheist will ever be elected president or to any high-ranking positions, because there is a vast majority of voters are religious voters. People are religious. They want to vote for someone who are faith-based. Again, maybe not the most popular thing to say, but something that is very, very true. Some other things, we'll get into greater detail about these candidates, but that is something that plays a key role, and even before the primary process begins. You need to have a strong candidate. Now, again, everybody can run in primaries. I mean, you, me, anyone. Doesn't matter. But you need to ensure that you have those types of qualities in order for you to be considered a real candidate within the given election. As I'm moving through the textbook in 9.1, you will notice something that we've already discussed there. It's the idea of front-loading. As I've discussed with you before, the primary process does not happen all in one time. It happens on a variety of occasions, on a variety of dates. Some states going, one day, 2 days later, another group of states going. States desire to be in the beginning. States desire to be in the beginning. You will see a really, really clever cartoon regarding the Iowa and the New Hampshire primary, regarding, the idea of candidates, of front loading, and you will see Iowa there, New Hampshire there, and those represent well-fed people, and then you can see that other 48, he's just getting crumbs of the primary candidates, because again, Iowa and New Hampshire, they set the tone because they're the first ones to go. Iowa and New Hampshire, I believe, have their primaries at midnight. On the first allowed day on primary season. So again, the candidates, the people running for their given political parties, are going to spend tons of time, tons of effort, tons of money in those given states. And then the other 48 states there, as you can see, has to just, go over crumbs there, have to go over and get what's left over. So that gives a great example of why states want to be early in the primary season. They don't want to be late, just like I've given you the example regarding the Republican Party and the 2012 primary within Florida. State Republican Party wanted to have the primary early on. The National Republican Party said, Florida, nope, you're going to be at the tail end, and they had conflicts and almost didn't represent or allow or recognize their delegates at the party national convention. Something that I definitely want you to know is we need to really look at the primary and the caucus system. Now, we're not going to talk too much about the caucus today because that is part of your assignment. But what I definitely want you to understand is one of the key points is there, as it says there, a disproportionate amount of attention goes to early caucuses. Again, that is really stressing the point of front loading. Within the winner-take-all system, as we discussed today in class, the primary season can be over far, far quicker or far, far faster. So if a state is not in the beginning, they might already have a winner towards their primary election. That's probably going to happen within the Democrats because, Hillary is the clear front runner there. What you need to understand, too, is not only money and attention during that time period, but attention to the issues of those given states. Those candidates are going to focus their campaign strategies around those states. They're going to address the issues that are found within those states. They're going to address the problems found within those states. So it is clear that these candidates are putting a lot of their effort and focus on those states instead of getting attention at the national and other states levels. That can be incredibly frustrating for states that are not as important as it's seen, is not as important as other states. Now you can see there a little map there on page 296, and you can see how the amount of events, the amount of attention that was given in those places. I mean, you can see that it's complete. Iowa had 321 events for the Democratic nomination process in 2008. I mean, look at those other places. I mean, Alaska won, Hawaii won, Indiana won, or Idaho, won. I mean, it's completely disproportionate of these groups. So we really want to make sure we're aware of those types of things. We're going to talk about other things like convention send-offs and establishing the party platform when we get back. And I've been talking for about 14 minutes now. I think that's probably long enough. So make sure that we know this material. Make sure that we're fluent with it. And I will talk about other things when I return on Monday. Please make sure to get all the assignments done, the 2004 and this assignment for this, and listen to this as needed. So have an amazing weekend, and I'll see you on Monday. Thank you.